And then Sunday nights, starting next Sunday, and I'm not surprising Jeremy when I say this, so I'm not throwing him off. We've been planning this, talking about this. Starting next Sunday night, Jeremy and I are going to swap places on Sunday night. Jeremy's going to come in here, and he's going to be preaching on Sunday evening. And you still planning on going through Titus? Okay, he's still planning on going through Titus. He's been working on that. And quite frankly, just to share with our church, everybody knows that Jeremy's in school, ministry training, and he's going through a preaching class right now. And so we're giving him opportunity to put in practice what he's learning. And so it's you will enjoy the study that he's going to be going through on Sunday nights through the book of Titus. And I'm taking the teenagers. And so I haven't been with teenagers for a few years. And so I'm going to go take the teenagers for those weeks. And looking forward to that little swap that we'll do there. So excited about those things coming along down the road here. Well, tonight, I told you this morning, tonight we were going to preach our New Year's message. And you always think through and you're going, what am I going to preach for New Year's? What am I going to do on New Year's? And especially since I finished the Minor Prophets study, so I can't say, well, I'll just preach Minor Prophets. That's done. And so what am I going to do? So I went through passage after passage after passage after passage and digging through old sermons and things that I've done before and trying to figure out, Lord, what do you want me to preach on Sunday night with regard to the new year? And this was the passage that he brought to mind. As I was praying and looking and things. And this is a message I have preached before out of 1 Timothy chapter 3. So if you'll turn to 1 Timothy chapter 3 with me. And most of you, if you know 1 Timothy chapter 3, you're going, the new year qualifications of a pastor? No, we're not going to look at the qualifications of a pastor or the qualifications of a deacon. We're not going to look at either one of those. But primarily the last two verses of 1 Timothy chapter 3, 1 Timothy chapter 3. And we're going to look at a message that I have titled here, Hey, Behave Yourselves. And I had to find a picture of a lady shaking her finger telling us to behave ourselves. Behave yourselves. So 1 Timothy chapter 3, you're familiar, I've already said, Paul takes the time, he's addressing this young pastor. He's telling this young pastor how church needs to function, how he ought to function as a pastor. And obviously it's the Word of God, so it's profitable for all of us to hear and to learn and to see what is being instructed to this young pastor there. And what we see here is Paul comes through and he says, okay, elders, pastors need to be appointed, and here's their character traits they need to have in their lives, even to be considered to be a pastor. Okay, the qualifications of a pastor. This is what they ought to be like. And then he goes into the qualifications of the deacon. And it's interesting to note, just a little side note here, it's interesting. When it comes to the pastor, the only person that has qualifications that they're looking at, character traits and things, are the pastors. When you go into the deacons, it's the deacons and their wives. The deacons' wives even get mentioned in there, in the qualifications there. So deacons need to be in a certain way, and your wives need to have certain character traits and qualities about them. Paul gives this leadership, but what about everybody else? What about everybody else? Well, Paul addresses quickly in the last few verses here the everybody else of the church here. Sorry, I'm getting back online here with my presentation. So 1 Timothy chapter 3, beginning in verse number 14, Paul writes, These things write I unto thee, hoping to come unto thee shortly. So there's a desire in Paul's heart. He wants to get there. He wants to go see Timothy. He wants to check in on him and help him out and minister alongside of him. He's hoping to do this, but I write this. And he continues on in verse 15, and he says, But if I